All right, navigating custody arrangements in Texas is fairly straightforward. In the family code, there is a possession schedule that is presumed to be in the children's best interest. And the court that follows the case law and follows the statutes pretty much always does exactly what the code says to do. And in Texas, we call it the standard possession order. And those of you out there in the world, you're familiar with the first, third, and fifth weekends. By the way, people sometimes will say, I want the one that's like every other weekend. Well, in Texas, it's really not every other weekend. It's first, third, and fifth weekends. So if there's a fifth weekend in a month, that means you would get the fifth weekend of one month and the first weekend of another month, and you would get 2 weekends back to back occasionally. So, but the standard possession order is that first, third, and fifth weekend. It's Thursday night visits. It's 30 days in the summer. And then you alternate spring break, Thanksgiving, and then the Christmas break is divided into halvesies. So that's that standard possession order. That's what's in the code. Now, there's been an update. It used to say that Thursday nights were from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. And then they had what they call the extended standard possession order, where Thursday night will be overnight. Well, now that is the standard. So a couple of legislative sessions ago, they changed it. So now Thursday night overnight is the standard if you live within 50 miles of each other. So that's the standard possession order. That's what, if you leave it up to the judge, that's the easiest thing for the judge to do. The judge was just going to award one parent a standard possession order. Can you agree to something outside of that? Yes, you can. You can always reach agreements. If you make a good case for it, the court will always, consider that. And very often they'll just sign it. If the parties have reached an agreement, they've already signed an order. If y'all think it's good, the court will just sign it. That's my experience there. So could that be a 50-50 possession schedule? Yes. The parties can agree to a 50-50. The family code does not even address a 50-50 possession schedule. So if you want a 50-50, you typically need to reach an agreement for it. But we are seeing those more and more. There's a lot more people coming in saying, hey, I want to file a divorce, and I just want to go ahead and do a 50-50 of some sort. So we're happy to help with that. Keep in mind, there's numerous ways to do a 50-50. So a lot of people will think of it as a week on, week off, but there's also other variations that can work really good for some people. And we do a bunch of that work. We've got a bunch of custom language, that we've built in the past and we've got saved that we can reuse over and over. So we've kind of standardized different versions of a 50-50 possession schedule in our office. But there are other things outside of a 50-50. What if you wanted to do a standard possession order, but not do Thursdays at all? Yes, we can do that. What if you want to do a standard possession order, except instead of Thursdays, you want the midweek visit to be on a Wednesday night? Yes, we can do that. So can the parties reach custom possession schedules? Yes, you can. Is the court likely to do some kind of custody, custom schedule for your custody case? Probably not. The family courts like to stick right to the law because they're never going to land in the paper. The judge is never going to be in the paper for some oddball possession schedule if he just sticks to what the law says. Okay. So if you want something custom, you need a lawyer to help you draft it and make sure that it gets entered with the court. If you just want the standard possession order, right, we can do that too. But understand, if you're not willing to give on the possession schedule, the other side's going to be fighting for whatever it is they want. And so trying to get an agreement, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not easy. And it's certainly, if one party is fighting for the standard possession order and the other side is fighting for something else, you're going to need a lawyer to help them make those arguments also and explain to the court why you think the best interest of the child is to do what you think the custody schedule should do. So can they be easy? Yes. Can they be really hard to work out? Can it take a lot of time and effort? Absolutely. But, we do custom schedules all the time, and we do the standard order all the time. What does the court look at when we start trying to figure out a possession schedule for the kids? So first things first, please understand a possession schedule is not for the parents. The possession schedule is for the children to have access to their parent. Okay, so that's a little shift, but it's significant because the possession schedule is not built for you. It's not, by God, my time with my kids. It's my kids' opportunity to be with me as a parent. So that's a shift in how you think about possession schedules. And so we like to look at it that way when we start trying to figure out what possession schedule is going to work best for you. We often have people who'll come in and say, I want a 50-50 with my kids. And then I find out you're an airline pilot and your schedule changes and you're out of town days and days. And how could you ever actually work a 50-50 possession schedule? In fact, we find numerous different jobs have negative impact on even a standard possession order. If you work retail, where you have alternating days off, you've got one day on the week and one day on the weekend is your typical day off schedule, standard possession order is not going to be very good for you. You're not going to see your kids that much. If you're law enforcement, if you're a firefighter, if you're an airline pilot, if you're active duty military, we build custom schedules for those folks because their work schedule is constantly rotating. In a standard possession order, doesn't let you see your kids. You might see them this weekend, and then it might be 2 or 4 or 5 weekends before you get to see your kids again, and that doesn't work. Okay, so we factor in work schedules, and so does the court. So drive time, the court will consider how far away you live and how hard is it going to be to get the children to school on time. If you live too far away, or if your work schedule gets you off at 3 in the morning and now you're going to be wanting to pick your kids up at 6 a.m., that's not something the court's going to want to deal with, right? So work schedules, that's the big one. Any kind of special drive time, that's going to be the big one. Any kind of special needs of the child. If the child is going to need a lot of therapy, if the child needs a lot of medical care, and one party works a lot and doesn't have the capacity to provide that or get the child to their appointments during their parenting time. And then way down the list is the child's extracurriculars. If you got a kid that's in travel ball, or you've got a kid that shoots 3-gun, or you've got a kid that is into kart racing, the court wants the kid to be involved in things, but not at the expense of the other parent. So that's something that can actually work against you. If you put the kids in volleyball and now there's a tournament every weekend and your kids' tournaments dominate the other parent's time on their weekend, the court will eventually say, you know what, Dad, you don't have to take the kids to their volleyball games. It's taking too much of your time. Sometimes too much activities will work against you as a parent, or work against the kids because you've got them in activities that cut into the other parent's time. So we start talking about building out a possession schedule. It's got to make sense. It's got to make sense with your work. It's got to make sense with the kids' activities. It's got to make sense with the kids' health needs. It's got to make sense with the kids' school, and whether or not you can get them to school on time. Because nothing says I'm a great parent like having 20 tardies for your kid all on your watch over the course of a semester because you live too far away to get the kids at school at 7:30 in the morning, right? So there's a lot of factors that are not necessarily legal. It's the practical application of how you live your life as a parent that factor into that custody schedule. So that's why if you're going to need something custom, you for sure need a lawyer, because those fill in the blank forms you download on the internet don't freaking do it. Co-parenting. Y'all, co-parenting is a hot topic. If you're out there on TikTok a lot and you're watching, there's a lot of people out there talking about how terrible their co-parent is, and they're using words like narcissist, and they're talking about them being a counter-parent, and how they're upsetting the kids and all that, right? It's hard to think of all the different ways people can screw it up. But maybe it's easier to talk about things that will make it better. So first things first, a possession schedule that you have with your kids is not for you. You're a grown-up. Your job as a parent is to sacrifice for your kids. That's why you go to work. That's why you spend your money on a place for your kids to live and food for them to eat and activities for them to do instead of buying yourself some new shoes or a new car, right? You sacrifice for your kids. So the possession schedule isn't for you. It's for the children to have access to you. You love your kids, but you don't get your love from the kids. You love the kids unconditionally. The kids come to you to get love and support. So you need to be invested in giving to your children. And part of that giving is giving them access to their other parent, encouraging that relationship between them and the other parent, fostering that relationship. What does that mean? I like to think of it in terms of helping the other parent be the best parent they can be. Kids are guaranteed a parent. It's in the Constitution. Texas takes that seriously. They're not guaranteed a good parent. That other parent may not do things the way you think they should. My advice to you is to help that parent be the best parent they can be. If they're running a little bit late because they're that kind of person who's always late to shit, give some grace. They were late to things when you had this child. They were late to things when you were dating this person. They were late to things during the marriage, and they're still late. Give some grace. If they show up and the kids are in good spirits, but their clothes are dirty, give some grace, right? Don't make them feel bad because they didn't get the kids as clean as you think they should be, and their clothes didn't get washed over the weekend. You would do those things, and you're going to take their stuff back and you're going to wash it. Give some grace to that other parent. Help the kids love that other parent and appreciate the love that that parent gives them in the way that that parent can. So we've talked about some things that I think help with good co-parenting. Let's talk about the negative side of co-parenting. This is when people start weaponizing the kids against the other parent, and they start threatening litigation, or they start firing up litigation. And it's not really because the other parent has done anything terrible. It's just because the other parent is not what you think they should be, right? Let's not do that. It wastes your money. It wastes the other side's money. All that is money from two households that could be used on the kids, but now you're having to pay lawyers, right? And it's going to end up with a bunch of more negative emotions about the other parent. It can ruin the trust from the other parent. I'll give you a quick example. Recently, I had a case where my client thought he and the other parent were doing pretty good, and when he had extra time, he would offer, if he was going to take a trip, he would say, "Hey, do you want to keep the kids this extra time?" And she always was happy to take that extra time. Well, now she's filed a case against him saying that he's not using all his time, and now I need more child support, and I want to change the possession schedule. So now he realizes he can never give her extra time again. So now he's never going to offer her extra time with the kids because he knows that she's using it against him. She's using that, what he thought was good co-parenting, she's using that as ammo to shoot at him in another family law case. And so she has damaged that co-parenting relationship from now on. He's never going to trust her again because he knows she's always going to litigate. So using the kids, weaponizing the kids, using the other side's good nature, using their co-parenting against them as the cause for a new case, that's how you damage your co-parenting relationship forever, okay? So it can have long-term consequences that are going to make your life a lot harder, and it's actually ultimately going to put the kids into stress, cause anxiety for those kids, cause emotional problems for those kids because their parents are always fighting. It's not modeling good grown-up behavior for the kids. So there's just a lot of reasons why I don't recommend that. Yes, as a lawyer, the more conflict parents have, the more money we make. That's something that lawyers do. We don't make money when people get along. But there's a good way to spend a lot of time and money and a lot of emotional stress on you and the kids just by fighting over things that don't really need to be fought over. So all that said, y'all, I just encourage you to be the best parent you can be. Don't worry about future litigation. Just be the best parent you can be on any given day. And part of that means helping the other parent when you can. Help them be the good parent they can be. Give some grace. Send them reminders to help them be on time. Let them know, hey, there's meet the teacher night. There's nothing wrong with sharing that information. It's not a gotcha game. Help them be there for your kids. Your kids will benefit, and so will you. Let's talk about some things to avoid in your custody case. This could be a long video, so strap in, get ready. All right. 1, don't do drugs. I don't think I should have to say that. I think it should be pretty obvious. But in Texas, there's no legal drugs, right? So you're using marijuana and you have an Oklahoma card. Texas does not care about that. Court to court, some of these courts don't really care about weed. They just don't. But I know other courts where Delta 8 and Delta 9, you can buy down at the local Quickie Mart or the local vape shop. Those courts will put you on supervised visits with your kids over Delta 8. All right. So certainly marijuana, don't use it. You don't use anything illegal. Okay. No coke, no heroin. Don't be dropping Molly. None of that stuff. When you think, if you know there's a custody case going or a divorce is on the horizon, you got to get clean, right? That would be part of your strategy. And we would advise you, if you came in and talked to us ahead of time, to start planning your strategy for your divorce or your custody case. We have strategies to help you with drug testing and everything, and so we can get you clean before we file that case. That is the optimal situation. But certainly if your case is going, and maybe it's been going for months and months, and things are kind of running on autopilot, do not go and freaking drop some ecstasy this weekend. Do not do it. I don't care if Burning Man is on. You don't use. All right? Because as soon as you do, and your other parent knows that you were in Colorado for the weekend, or know you went to this big music festival or whatever else, lo and behold, on Monday morning, they're going to be filing for a TRO wanting to drug test you. And now what? Okay? So don't use drugs during your case. Other things to avoid during your case are going to be, I don't like when you're playing gotcha with the other parent. You're setting up doctor's visits or setting up events, and then you don't notify the other parent. Well, you can't complain later that the other parent never shows up to doctor visits, right? So we don't want to play a gotcha game with the other parent. Here's the thing that a lot of folks, they don't really understand how this works. Imagine you come to an exchange. So it's time for the other parent to have their weekend. And you go to the place and the other parent shows up and you're trying to exchange the kids, and the kids won't get out of your car because the kids don't want to go with dad, and they're in the car and they're crying and they're throwing a fit. And you're just like, well, here they are. I showed up and they won't get out of the car. Oh, I don't know what to do, right? That makes you look terrible as a parent, because the other parent now is in a spot where, what are they going to force the kids out of the car? They're going to snatch them up by their, the nape of their neck and throw them in. Now the other parent's got to get physically abusive with the kids to get them out of the car. You put that other parent in an untenable position. And now you've got little kids who are running the show. I got 2 grown-ups who are parents, and I got 2 little kids or 3 little kids or whatever running the show. Now neither parent can make the kids do anything. What do you think that looks like to the court? So if those kids want to throw a fit and they don't want to go to school, are you just going to let them stay home? So that's how the court looks at it. If you can't get the kids out of the car and into the other parent's car, that's a failure on your part as a parent. You're not a victim, right? So the courts don't like that. So good co-parenting and being a good parent means you run the show for the kids. You give directions and they execute on it, right? Having that discipline, having that parental authority, that loving authority with the kids is what elevates you to the court as a parent. So you want to be the one where you say, hey, baby, all right, it's time to go see your mom. This is a great time to go see your mom. Have a great weekend. I love you. Bye. Go have a great weekend. Your kids need to be encouraged to go. And that means not just at the exchange. That means on a daily basis, you're encouraging the kid's relationship with the other parent. If the kids start crying about having to go to the other parent, that is probably your fault. And there's going to be people who complain about this video because I just hurt them when I said that. They don't like that truth. But if the kids don't want to go to the other parent's house, assuming that person's not abusive, that's probably your fault as a parent. So I know that hurts, but you need to correct that and prevent it, because if you and that other parent were still together, the kids would not have a problem going back and forth, and you pick them up from school and the other spouse picks them up from school or whatever. Those kids will be fine. Why are all of a sudden now they don't want to go to the other parent? That's probably on you. And it may not be because you've told them that the other parent's scary or dangerous. It's just your attitude toward the other parent has rubbed off. These kids have absorbed your negative energy toward the other parent, and now they're in a place where they don't want to break your trust. They don't want to hurt your feelings by choosing to go with the other parent. But it's not up to them, it's up to you. And certainly if there are active court proceedings, the kids are not ordered to do anything. The parents are the ones who have the order. So if you go and show up in front of the judge and say, well, Judge, I took them and they just wouldn't get out, that looks terrible on you. That's a terrible place to be. So you need to encourage your kids on a daily basis to have a great relationship with the other parent. Makes you a rational, reasonable person. If the other parent is a terrible person and they don't do the same back, that's shame on them, not shame on you, right? You need to do your part. So I think that's it. Don't use drugs. Give as much grace as you can. Help that other parent be a good parent, and be aware of your energy and what you say to the kids so that you are constantly reassuring the kids that the other parent is good for them to be with. And if the other parent is legit a concern, like they've got real problems, maybe you need to talk to your lawyer about getting back to court to fix that. But if the other parent has a possession schedule, you need to see that the kids go. You need to encourage them on a daily basis. And certainly at the exchange times, make them go. Just that's the rule. You go, right? You're not negotiating with your own kids. All right. So I hope that helps. If you have any additional questions, please let us know.